Hello and welcome to a preview of Volko Runke's Coast Watchers. This is a game that is currently being published by GMT Games. It is currently on their P500 program. This game is still being play tested and developed, and I have the privilege of helping with the play testing and with the playtest module, which you're looking at here on the screen is Tabletop Simulator, a software program that a lot of game designers are turning to assist with playtesting and visualizing components, and it's a fairly simple program for playtesting. What I'm going to do in this video is give you a sample of solitaire play for this game. Coast Watchers is a two-player game, but it can also be played solitaire. In a two-player game, one player takes the Japanese, the other player takes the Allied Coast Watchers. This game is about intelligence gathering and countermeasures by the Japanese player to try to capture and deceive or mislead the Allied player into what their plans are. Now, for a solo system, what this game has, and some of you may have experienced solitaire options for other games, and there is a one design method for solitaire games that you may come across is the bot, or the solitaire bot. Basically has its own rules that may depart fairly quite a bit from the rules as far as what an opponent can do. And this game, and the way it takes the solitaire, is it is doing the actual actions of the Japanese player, but it's making decisions as far as where and when those actions are taken. So for the most part, the bot player is not given special or totally different rules for what it can or can't do. There is some change to help balance it, but I'll try to go over those as I explain them. So I'm going to be playing as the Allied Coast Watchers, and the bot system is going to be controlled by the is going to control the Japanese side. So Coast Watchers is a game that has multiple situations or scenarios. So I'm going to choose a situation from this box over here. These are just the scenarios that will be in the game. And for purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use scenario F. I'm going to set this up as if I'm using the actual game components. I have not pre-set up anything, and I just want to give you a sample of actually setting it up and what that looks like. Normally, if you were playing a two-player game, the setup is Allied player sets up their stuff first, and then the Japanese player sets up their stuff first. I'm going to use this play aid. This is the play aid that will come with the game for the Allied player. That kind of walks you through setting up. It's a slightly different setup and the way it handles hidden information for the Japanese player. So this first page of the play aid is just explaining some key concepts. We're going to go to page 2, which is going to show us what to do to set up this situation. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to, according to this, we are going to place well, we've already done inactive blocks at all these stations. So these are all the stations where Coast Watchers can be placed. And again, in a two-player game, the Japanese player would be looking from this perspective and does not know if there is a Coast Watcher here, or there is refugees here, or if there's nothing there. But solo players, it doesn't really matter. You're going to be looking from this perspective, and blocks are either hidden like this, or they are revealed this way. Blocks that are revealed can be captured by the Japanese player. Hidden, not so easily. So next thing we're going to do is we are going to place Japanese site control markers, these palms, on all the locations that are Japanese controlled but are not report stations. In the game, the term report stations means a location where the Coast Watchers are trying to get intelligence of what's there. Not all these locations will be targets for espionage or for spying. And the situation tells you what are report stations. So you'll see here that it says reports, all reports boxes except Lungatalagi. So report boxes are these on the map. All of these are valid locations for the Allies to spy on or try to determine what is there. So everyone except for Lungatalagi. So this one I'm just going to take off and just put off to the side. These blue boxes and red boxes, in a two-player game in Tabletop Simulator, anything that's in here, Japanese can't see. Anything in here, Allied player can't see. So this box, for game purposes of Tabletop Simulator, is to hide blocks or pieces from the Japanese player. All right, so what I'm going to do is locations that are not listed here but are Japanese controlled, I'm going to take some of these palm icons and place there. So what this is doing is marking this as a Japanese controlled location, but by putting palm trees here just face up, it's indicating this is not a target that the Coast Watchers are trying to spy on. So let me get all these out here. Pretty much everything up to pretty much the Central Solomons and Guadalcanal are the majority of the locations that are going to be shown here on these spaces, including Bougainville, both of these locations, Kavieng, Rabaul, those are bases, so those are listed here. You can see these two report markers, and then over here as well, I believe Buna is one. Is Buna on this? Yes, Buna is as well. So I'm going to leave that one off. Okay, but all of these locations, we're just marking them with these generic, nothing to report, palm trees. There are going to be no Japanese buildups markers. So the Japanese are having missions that they're going to be trying to build up to prepare for, whether it's a shore bombardment or an air raid, bombing raid, or reconnaissance mission, a whole slew of operations that are represented in these mission cards. And the mission cards will tell you what kind of buildups and where they need to be. Now, Solitaire will handle this slightly different, and we'll get to it when we get to that part. But buildups in a Solitaire game doesn't really matter where they are, but they're going to be in locations that are listed here. But so we're going to be placing markers face down in all these other locations that are Japanese controlled that will be valid targets for Coast Watchers to spy on. And we're not going to look at them until we successfully observe them. Okay, so this part is now done. The next step of our Solitaire setup is to draw the Japanese missions and assets. So this is kind of going a little bit backwards. Normally the Japanese player would set up second, but we're just going to do missions and assets. For Solitaire purposes, we're going to select their missions. So according to this setup, it says that the Japanese randomly draw 4 cards that are listed as with the F, situation F. So that would be these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to take this card, this card, this card, and this card. 4 cards here. I'm going to flip them upside down and give them a good shuffle because they are going to draw 4 cards from F. Oh, 1942. Let me get the 1942 cards. That's going to be, here's a 1942, 42. So both of these, as well as reinforcements. Where is reinforcements? Right here. Okay. So these I'm also going to put in this pile. Okay, so 7 cards. 7 cards that can be selected from. 3 of these are going to be chosen or selected as the, 4 of them will be selected for the Japanese mission. So I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm not going to look at these. These are a secret until the game end kind of triggers, and then we're going to see what the Japanese missions are. We're going to in a 2-player game, the Japanese would see these, but they're secret. They're hidden from the Allied player. The rest of these cards I'm just going to put into a pile and stick them off to the side here. And I'm just going to leave these a little separate. I don't think there's a reason to, but these are 3 of the cards that they could have drawn. And again, we're not to know yet at this point what they drew. However, their assets, we will get to see what the Japanese have. So this says discard all 1943 assets. So let's look over here at Japanese assets. 1, 2, 3 of these assets, but they're not going to be able to pick these because this scenario takes place in September of 1942. So anything that's 1943 is not available to them. Then we're secretly going to select and draw Tanaka or Zeros. All right, so Tanaka and Zeros. Now normally, in a 2-player game, the Japanese player would get to choose if they want Zeros or Tanaka. But since this is solo, we're going to randomly draw one of them. And I'm just going to draw it into my hand. This isn't hidden information. I'm allowed to see this. Okay, and then what else do they get? They also randomly draw 3 more cards from the 17 that are left. Okay, well that's going to be all the rest of these here. So I'm going to bunch these up into a stack. And there are 17 here. We're going to shuffle, and we're going to draw 3 of them. All right, and then this little bit, except for these, which we're told to be discarded, the 1943. The rest of these are going to be available during the game for the Japanese to draw more. So I'm going to stick these over here. Okay, so the Japanese missions have been selected. That's these 4. We don't know what they are. And their starting assets have been selected, and we do get to see what these are. Now, per the setup, it wants us to look and see if construction battalions or barges or one of the assets that they picked, which construction battalions is one, we need to do something with it right now. So I'm going to pull this one out. And according to the setup rules, we are going to remove, remove a number of palms from each draw pool equal to the number of turns in this situation. 3 or 5 palms, each from bases and sites. Okay, turns in this situation, 3 or 5. Okay, so this is a 3 situation turn. You can see that right here. This scenario will last 1 to 3 turns. So we're going to remove 3 palms from both of these pools. These are base buildups. These are just Japanese controlled, but non-base buildups. So we're going to remove 3 of these, and we're going to remove 3 of these. Okay, what is this representing? Well, this is making it more likely that in the pool we will not have palm trees, and this is just representing that the Japanese have battalions committed to construction. So when there's markers that are going to be put here that are hidden to us, there's a higher likelihood they're actually going to be something and not just these palm trees, which are nothing. Because if a coast watcher does an observation and they look and they see it's nothing but palm trees, that means there's nothing there. There's no enemy activity noticeable. So these 6 palm trees are removed from the game. The rest of these are going to be put into a site pool and a base pool to be placed onto the map secretly. So I'm going to take all of these, I'm going to flip them upside down. And then I'm going to do something that's a feature of Tabletop Simulator. It's not going to be in the actual game. I'm going to lock them, and that symbol will not be on the counters. It's just for Tabletop Simulator, because normally when a build-up marker is on the map, it's going to look like that. It's going to look like that. And in this, when you're playing Solitaire, they start locked, which means you cannot observe them. It's kind of like the Japanese haven't done any build-up actions there yet. And you're supposed to indicate it in the physical game by kind of putting these pieces kind of sideways like that at a 45-degree angle. It's kind of hard to do in Tabletop Simulator because you kind of see they hit against the pieces. So for ease of play, what I'm doing is just putting a a little lock icon on there to make it clear that these are locked buildups that cannot be observed yet. I'm going to put these in here. Same with these. I'm going to flip them over. I'm going to lock them, and then I'm going to put them into this straw bag. Okay. So these two bags, I'm going to... No. Put that back in there. I'm going to drag these over here. And then what I'm going to do is all the other locations that don't yet have a palm tree like this, the locations that are listed here with these report markers, I'm going to either put a base buildup or a site buildup. And according to this, it tells you that Japanese bases are Salamao, Lei, Kavieng, Rabal, Buka, and Buin. All the rest are just going to be non-base buildups. So this is our base buildup. So we're going to draw one and place it at each of these locations that are considered bases. So bases are where all the high-scoring assets are going to be that the Japanese are going to be secretly building up, like aircraft or warships or transports, to do their missions, which we don't know what they are, but they're right here in a stack. So, and then all the rest of these locations, we're going to put just these site buildups. Again, these could be palm trees, they could be troops or construction or something like that. But because of construction battalions, there's less of a likelihood that they're going to be palm trees because we removed 6 of them. Okay, we got one more in Buin here. All right, so that now all of these locations that have a marker have one of these locked buildup markers. And again, locked in Solitaire. Again, this is not a 2-player function. And Solitaire, the lock symbol is just saying the allied player is not allowed to observe there yet because there's potentially nothing there. But normally in a 2-player game, the Japanese player, when they do build-up actions, they can swap out these counters with actual build-up counters, and they can do that in any of their locations. And the allied player has no idea where they're doing it because they have to look away while they do that. But for Solitaire play, key difference here is locations start locked, and when they become unlocked by Japanese buildups, then they become observable. All right, so what's next? We have done our build-up pools and placed those. Now we're going to do the Japanese patrols. We're going to prepare the patrol cup and ready patrols. So again, that's going to be right here. It says that 5 patrols start ready. I'm going to take 5 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's put them right here. These are patrols the Japanese player can send onto the map to do countermeasures against the Coast Watchers, or they can be put into the patrol cup to increase the likelihood of patrols countermeasures to detect the Coast Watchers. Then we have to seed the pool. So according to this, the patrol cup starts with 9 evasion chits and 6 patrol chits. So I'm going to take 9 of these. See, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So whenever the allied player, the Coast Watchers, do activities in Japanese controlled locations, there's going to be a draw from this cup. The number of chits that are drawn is dependent on whether there are patrols at the location the Coast Watchers are doing their activities. These are bad for the Coast Watchers if they're drawn. These are good for the Coast Watchers. These are meaning that the Coast Watchers are staying low and hidden. So a good amount of these in the cup is going to ensure that the Coast Watchers don't get caught, or help ensure they don't get caught. But these are slowly going to get added to the cup, and it's going to get harder and harder for the Coast Watchers to evade detection and capture. All right, next. That concludes the, normally at this, they're saying hold off on the Japanese patrols, placing patrols. Do not place police or army patrols onto the map yet. That will happen during the first preparations phase for the Japanese. Okay, now we go to the Allied setup. For the Allied setup, we do this normally like you would in a two-player game. Okay, so according to this, we start with one Coast Watcher ready. Okay, so we're going to take a Coast Watcher, put it in this ready box. That means we have a Coast Watcher team ready to deploy somewhere, but they're not there yet. And then we're going to replace blocks. Any Allied held, we can put two Coast Watchers. Okay, Allied held. What's Allied held? Well, actually, you know what? I forgot to place an Allied base marker at Port Moresby and Lungatulagi. Let me go ahead and do that real quick. Port Moresby and Lungatulagi. Okay, so these are Allied bases. Anything with a build-up marker or these face-up palm trees, these are Japanese-controlled locations. Stations, they're called stations. And anything that doesn't have a marker, like Hood Point or Tufi, these are Allied occupied stations. So according to the setup here, we have to put two Coast Watchers at any Allied held. So that's going to be any of these or here. So I'm going to bring two Coast Watchers out. And we're going to replace this empty block with a Coast Watcher, and we're going to put a Coast Watcher at Port Moresby. Now, let me make clear at this point that I may not be doing the most optimal decisions here. I do want to try to make good decisions, but well, I guess I probably would need to play this a lot more before I think I would fully make the best optimal decisions here, because this is I'm still learning this. All right, we've got two Coast Watchers there. Then we need to place in any Japanese held 6 Coast Watchers and 1 Coast Watcher with guerrillas. So let's get 4, 5, 6 of these Coast Watchers, and then we're going to get 1 Coast Watcher guerrilla combo. Now these get placed in any of the Japanese held locations, which is everything here. Now, got to be a little careful here, because if I put my Coast Watchers, say, at Japanese bases, there's a very strong likelihood that there's going to be police at these bases, which is going to make the countermeasures, the detection probability much higher. So Coast Watchers in base locations are going to be in grave danger through the whole scenario. But they're also in positions to observe what's going on at these bases. So I'll try to put some at some bases, but I'm going to try to be careful with the others. You can see here that the Japanese are going to start with 2 police at Roboal and Kavieng. So these 2 locations for sure are going to start out. It's going to be tough for the Allies to observe these locations. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let's take this one here. We're going to put a Coast Watcher there. We'll put a Coast Watcher here at Buka. We'll put one here at Buin. And I'm going to hold off on putting one here. I'm going to put one right here in Namatanai. Hopefully I can get a specific Allied asset that will allow me to do observations from a distance, and hopefully I get that card, but we'll see what happens. And the rest of these I'm going to kind of spread out here in the Central Solomons. We'll put one here, and we'll put one here. Actually, put one here and here, just like that. And then my guerrillas, where am I going to put them? Let's put them over here in Salamao. These guerrillas will give me an option, potentially, to maybe knock out some Japanese patrols. Now, in this game, the Allies are not focusing on any combat. This is kind of a risky business, trying to actually attack Japanese patrols. This Coast Watcher guerrilla is a high value target for the Japanese because the Coast Watchers are worth three victory points for them if they capture them. Guerrillas are an additional 3 victory points, so this is a 6 victory point block if the Japanese can capture it. So I got to protect that one. Okay, so all my Coast Watchers are out at their report stations, hidden. All right, now I got to draw my missions. Discard all 1943 cards. Okay, so here we go to Allied missions. All 1943 cards. These are not going to be available. Put those off to the side. Then it says, randomly draw 4 cards from the 13 that are left. So let's get all of these. Put them in a pile. 13. Yep, 13 left. We're going to flip these over, give them a shuffle, and we're going to draw 4 of them. Okay. Now, some of these missions, like Escape, I have to reveal right now. So this one says, show immediately, scatter 1 refugee, then discard this card. So we're going to seed out there onto the map a refugee block, which is basically a source of victory points for the Allied player. If they can rescue those refugees before the Japanese capture it, or before the end of the scenario, that will give them victory points. That's going to go in this box right here, rescued. Now, where they get placed is random. You would take these assets, shuffle them, and draw one at random, and look at the bottom of the card, and it tells you where it gets placed. Now, I've got these laid out nicely so that I can actually draw my assets for the game. I do have a duplicate deck here, which you wouldn't have in the actual physical game, but for ease of play in Tabletop Simulator, I'm going to use this to randomly draw a card and see where it gets placed. Lavoro. And Lavoro, I'm not familiar with Lavoro. There it is. Okay, so right here. So this block becomes refugees. Okay. Nowhere, well, I have a Coast Watcher here that can potentially rescue it. In order to rescue refugees, you have to have Coast Watchers with them. So maybe I can send this guy to Lavoro and rescue those refugees. My other missions are, ooh, I have a resistance. Okay, so this is how I can use my guerrillas to potentially eliminate Japanese patrols. And network development will give me bonus BP for getting more Coast Watchers into Japanese territory. All right, so those are my missions. Now we need to draw our starting assets. So it says discard all 1943 assets. So that's 1, 2, 3, and Photo Recon, those are all 1943. Then we're going to draw 2 all cards. These are cards that are in every scenario, basically. So boats and Catalinas, those are our primary sources of transportation for our Coast Watchers and delivering supplies. And then we're going to get the Coopers. That's this one right here. Then it says, secretly select and draw either Clemens and Buza or Reed Mason and Yawaka. So here's Reed Mason, here's Yawaka, or Buza and Clemens. So I have the choice to pick these 2 or these 2. These 2, they give you capabilities that are focused on specific areas. Bougainville for both of them. So Yawaka and Reed Mason, if I pick them, I am hoping to do a lot of stuff in Bougainville, and I can use those assets for that region. These 2 cards, Buza and Clemens, are for Guadalcanal. So if I wanted to focus my actions down here in Guadalcanal, I would pick those 2. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick these 2 to focus on Bougainville. I put 2 Coast Watchers here. I'm hoping to do some good espionage with them. So I want some assets that will help me keep them safe from the Japanese. So I'm going to take these 2 assets into my hand. These 2 I'm going to discard with the others. Okay, then it says I get to randomly draw 2 from the 11 that are left. So that's all the rest of these. That's 11. Okay, let's flip those over and shuffle and draw 2 more. Okay, hideouts and code breaking. Okay, that's a good one. That is a helpful one. The rest of these assets, the allies are not going to be able to get. And these are not available to them either. Okay, well, I didn't get my spies asset that I was hoping to use with this Coast Watcher to kind of remotely access those locations, but it was a risk I took. Okay, we have now completed the Allied setup. We are now pretty much ready to begin play. And so at this point, we kind of are going to follow the basic flow of play. So we're on turn 1. The Japanese start with a preparations phase. Then we have an Allied activities phase, a Japanese countermeasures phase, an Allied activity phase, and then a Japanese countermeasures phase, but they also have the option to end the game and launch their operations. In a 2-player game, the Japanese player can, based on their missions, the missions will tell them when they can launch those operations. If they have the appropriate buildups where they need to be, they can launch them and get their victory points scored before the allies have a chance to do a lot of observing and warning. But in the Solitaire rules, there's a little bit of a randomness of when the Japanese are going to launch to keep you without being able to plan when they're going to do that, just like in a 2-player game. Okay, so preparations. Now, normally the Japanese 2-player, or in a 2-player, the Japanese human player would get to do 2 preparations actions. Build-ups, ready, or augment, and only 2 of them. But for the Solitaire player, there is an advantage here to the Solitaire player in that they will get to do each of these. So what we're doing is following in the Solitaire play aid, right here, build up. On turn 1, each build up action unlocks 2 control markers. And then on turn 2 and later, each build up action unlocks 1 marker. So if we look at this box right here, because we're doing situation F, their build-up action is going to unlock 4 locations, 4 of these locked locations. And because this is the first turn, that gets doubled. There are going to be 8 locations that are unlocked. In a 2-player game, the Japanese player could do 2 build-up actions, and each of them would be able to place 2 build-up actions. They get that first turn bonus, and they're simulating that as well here in the Allied solo play. So, where or which locations do they unlock first? So they're going to unlock 8 of these. That's where we're going to use this Kempi deck. This is the Solitaire deck that the Allied Solitaire play for the Allied player will use. There are 25 cards plus 5 more that are not used in situations B, C, M, and N, but because this is situation F, these will get added to the deck. We're going to give those a good shuffle and bring these over here. All right, now what we're doing is we're going to draw these one at a time and we're looking for a build-up marker here. We don't see one. Let me draw another one. Here we go. Build-up. So this is going to unlock a build-up in the Central Solomons. All right, well, here's the Central Solomons. There are 5 locations for them to unlock. Which one do they unlock? Well, per the Allied or the Solitaire rules, they would unlock non-bases first. So you see right here where it says unlock a Japanese site before a base. Well, all of these are non-bases. So we have to, that didn't help us narrow the choices. So what we're going to do is we're going to assign random numbers to these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to draw a card and look at the options section for number 5. It's a 1. So the first one is going to be unlocked. That is now a location that potentially has a buildup that the Coast Watchers could observe. And lo and behold, we have a Coast Watcher in place, like it was planned. All right, that's the first buildup action. Next one. There's another buildup icon in Bougainville. So we look at Bougainville. Again, it would be non-bases and then bases. There's only bases here, so which one do we unlock? Well, let's assign random numbers. 1, 2. Let's draw another card and look at the options for 2. It's 1, so the first one gets unlocked. Okay, 2 down, 6 to go. Next one. Oh, this one doesn't have a build-up marker, so keep drawing. Here we go. Bismarck's. Bismarck's gets a build-up. There's only one here, and that's this one. So let's unlock that one. Next one. Build-up in the Central Solomons. Okay, now we have 4 because we've already unlocked one. So let's assign numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's draw another card and look at the number for 4 options, and it's a 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This one gets unlocked. Next one. Oh, this one doesn't have a build-up icon. This one does. Central Solomons again. Okay, random numbers 1, 2, 3. Let's draw again. Look at the option for 3. It's a 2. So this one is unlocked. Next one. Another build-up in the Central Solomons. Okay, we've got 2 left. So 1, 2. Let's draw a card and look at option for 2. It's a 2. So this one gets unlocked. All right, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got to do 2 more. Guadalcanal gets a build-up. Okay, there are 3 here. So 1, 2, 3. Let's look at the options for 3. And it's a 1, so that's this one. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 more build-up in Bougainville. Okay, Bougainville. There's 1 more to unlock here. That's Bouin. There are our 8 unlocked buildups that the Coast Watchers can now observe at. We're still left with a few here that are locked, so unfortunately my Coast Watchers here are not able to do anything yet, except potentially be targets for capture. But in turn 2 and 3, if the game goes that long, during the preparations phase, 4 more buildups will be unlocked. And again, it's just on the first turn that that number is doubled. Now, the next part of the Japanese buildup is place patrols. Only on turn 1, finish setup now by placing patrols on the map per Japanese setup. Okay, so here's the situation. So we are going to place 2 police at Rabaul and Kavieng. We already knew about these because they were listed on the situation. Let's go ahead and get these out here. Police are more dangerous than just army patrols. 3 chits get drawn from the cup at police locations. 2 get drawn at army locations, and only 1 gets drawn in locations without a patrol. We're talking about this patrol cup that we've seeded. All right, then 4 more armies get placed at any Japanese held. So we have to figure out where these 4 get placed. Well, where does the solo bot place them? Well, according to our play aid, they are going to get placed at unlocked sites first. In other words, they're not going to get placed at these locations because they're still locked. They're going to get placed at one of these locations we just unlocked. And place police first, then army. Place at bases first, then sites. Okay, so we have 4 to place. We have 3 bases that got unlocked, so those are going to be locations first. So 1 gets here, 1 goes here. That one's already got one. Okay, so we have 2 more to place. All the rest are non-base bases, unlocked bases. So we have to determine where these go. And at this point, we're going to draw again until we get a region that's either Central Solomons or Guadalcanal. So here we go. Let's draw. Nope. There we go. Guadalcanal gets one. So there's only one location in Guadalcanal where there is an unlocked buildup. And we have one more to place. It can only go in the Central Solomons because every other unlocked location has a patrol already. So here we're going to have to randomly assign a number. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's draw a card for 4 options. It's a 3. So 1, 2, 3. Patrol gets placed there. All right, then we do a Japanese ready and augment action. They're going to ready one action. Okay, so preparations action ready, add up to 2 patrols to the ready box. So 2 more patrols get added over here. Now there are 7 ready to be deployed. And then the last action that they do is an augment. For one action, show and draw asset immediately. Okay, so here we go. We're going to, I think we already shuffled these. We're going to draw one more asset for the Japanese. Jungle Tactics. Okay, I want to go ahead and place all of their assets out here. Okay, so basically how the Japanese use assets, per Solitaire rules, they're going to play them as soon as they can. And there are a special section on the back of this play aid that gives you some special rules. For instance, like interrogation. Interrogation, it tells you use only on the 3rd search or 5th action of the phase, whichever comes first. I'll try to remember that when we get to it. Tanaka, this guy doesn't really have an effect now, but at the end of the game, he'll have the potential for eliminating VPs from Coast Watchers who are trying to warn the Allies. And this one, Jungle Tactics, once per countermeasures phase, use 1 deploy action before searches, and they can discard this card for 1 operate success to instead fail and reveal. And according to this, they discard only after turn 1. So the Japanese aren't going to discard it as soon as possible. They're going to try to use the whole first part of that benefit for the first turn. All right, now we can start with the first Coast Watchers activity phase. All right, what are we going to do? Now this part of Solitaire play follows just the normal 2-player rules. I can do anything that the allied player can normally do. In this order, I do deliver actions first, operate actions second, evade third, train fourth, in that order, unless I have an asset that lets me do something different. Let's see what we have. We have our boats, Catalinas. Those are what we're going to be using to do delivery actions. We have the Coopers. This is going to help us with retrieving and rescues in Guadalcanal and Central Solomons. And then we can also discard it for a to observe at a location there in the Central Solomons or Guadalcanal. Reed Mason and Yawaka, those are our special Bougainville ones. Oh, code breaking. Okay. So this one is nice, and we'll go ahead and play that right now. So code breaking. The Japanese show all their missions, including any that Yamato drew while code breaking is shown. Okay, well, there's no Yamato asset, but basically we get a sneak peek at what the Japanese missions are. Let me flip these over. Well, draw them and flip them. These are the missions available to the Japanese. This is a really nice asset to have, especially in a 2-player game, just to see what the Japanese could potentially do. There is a handy part of the what will be the scenario book or the playbook. I'm not sure where it will be in the books, but on the other page of the situations, or I should say in the playbook, there's going to be across from each other these 2 pages. And actually, let me clone these and set these side by side. we'll have this page and this page open and across from each other. That's basically saying, gives you some useful intel for situation F, where Japanese buildups, based upon the missions available to them, where they can originate from, where they can target. And again, this would be helpful in a two-player game. If we didn't know what missions they had, we could know what they potentially have and study this, but we do know what they have. So it looks like all of their missions are operations, which means they will have to launch operations to score points, and that happens as at the end of a turn. They can choose to do countermeasures or to launch operations. Now, Solitaire rules say the Japanese will never launch operations on the first turn. So starting in turn 2, we will start evaluating if the Japanese actually launch their missions. But in each of these cases, this will be interesting. They are going to be sending stuff our way. So we want to observe and then get Coast Watchers positioned in the path of these missions so that we can warn the Allies before, for instance, this bombardment comes up to Lungatalagi, Guadalcanal. All right. So, what are we going to do with our first action as the Allied Coast Watchers? Well, one thing that's very important is keeping this patrol cup well filled with these evade markers. That will help us to avoid detection. So I'm going to spend my first action to use Catalinas. I have to use an asset like boats or Catalinas to do this. I'm going to use my Catalinas to try and deliver supplies to a location with a Coast Watcher in Japanese-held territory. So that's going to be one of these guys or here. I'm a little nervous doing it here because if these guys get spotted during this supply delivery, they're going to become easy pickings for these patrols to capture. So let's pick someone that's not in a threat of being targeted by patrols. Let's pick Chosel right here. All right. So per this card, when we're doing a resupply, we put two sighting markers into the delivery cup, and we put 9 nothing markers, which are good for us. We want those to get drawn. But the Japanese have flying boats. Ooh, how I hate this asset. Which means all delivering actions are, we're going to lose 2 of our nothing chits from the cup. So normally we would get 9, but we're only going to get 7. So here are 6, 7. All right, so we're trying to deliver supplies to Chosel. Let's draw 2 chits and see what happens. 1, 2. Oh dear. Because we drew one of these sighting markers, it means the Japanese have spotted us or have noticed us doing that resupply, and we have to reveal that Coast Watcher. But it does succeed. We do add 4 evade chits into the patrol cup. Well, that was a little bittersweet. Now the Japanese know that there's a Coast Watcher there. And to indicate that, I'm going to take one of these intel markers and place it here, just so that we remember the Japanese know about this Coast Watcher. Because later we can evade to hide him again, but that marker is going to stay there. The Japanese know he's there. Let's go ahead and do a delivery action. Yes, let's do a delivery action. So we're going to use our boats, and we are going to insert. We're going to send a Coast Watcher into Japanese-held territory. So this ready Coast Watcher we have here, we're going to try to send him into Lavaro to try to rescue those refugees. So, using boats, we put 2 sightings and 8, now 6 because of flying boats, into the cup. So there's 2 in there, and there's 6 evades. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are in the cup. Okay. Let's see if we successfully insert a Coast Watcher into Lavaro. 1, 2. Oh no, they were sighted again. It succeeds, but they were noticed. And we reveal them. And we mark them with a Japanese intel marker. Okay, but we do have this handy-dandy extraction asset, which will be useful because it allows us to rescue blocks that are revealed. Okay, well, we've used both of our assets, so even if we wanted to, we can't extract these guys yet because we need an asset. Because we can only use this once per phase, and we can only use this once per phase. But we do have this handy-dandy Cooper's card, which will allow us rescues to automatically succeed without a cup draw. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, we have 3 more actions to do as the ally player before the end of our little actions phase. So what are we going to do? Well, we're not going to do any more delivery actions. We don't have the assets for it. So we're going to do operations. This is where we can observe, recruit, or resist. So let's come up here. We have Coast Watchers at Buka and Buin. And this is where it gets a little sticky because we need to evade. We need to hide these guys before the end of this phase because the Japanese are going to go after us very hard if we leave them revealed. So we only have 2 actions. We need 2 actions to hide both of these guys. So that's going to use up 2 of these. We've only got 1 other action to play around with. Let's do an observation then at a location that is fairly safe. Oh, we have hideouts. Hideouts lets us at any one time per activities phase free observe. Doesn't cost an action. Discard this card before anyone observed to succeed without a cup draw. Interesting. That is very nice. Let's go ahead and we're going to use this to do a free, well, I'm not going to use one of these markers, a free observe. And let's do that here at Vela La Vela. This is an unlocked location, and we have a hidden coast watcher. There's no patrol here, so we only draw 1 chit from the patrol cup. Let's see what we get. And it's a nothing. So we were not detected, and this chit goes right back into the cup. And let's see what is there at Vela Novella. Nothing. Nothing at Vela Novella. Okay, let's pull this marker off, put in all clear. And in a 2-player game, you keep these hidden, but I'm just going to flip all these face up. This means we have done no observations. This is we've observed, but there's nothing there. Okay. So that was free. We still have 3 actions. Let's do this. Oh, sorry. When I inserted that guy, I forgot to take this guy from the ready box. He is here now. Let's see. We are going to, I guess we'll do our 2 evades, right? So we have to evade. We're going to do 2 evasions. So using 2 of our remaining actions to hide, and then our 3rd action, we're going to take a new Coast Watcher and ready them. That's our train action. So we've done 5 actions plus 1 bonus from hideouts. That was free. Okay. Make sure I'm not missing any assets Japanese can use. Okay. Now we go to the first Japanese countermeasures phase. Okay. So first off, following the solo rules, what the Japanese do. They will, first off, recall from all deactivated stations unless it's their last turn. There are no deactivated stations. Deactivated station is a location where the Japanese have cleared a site by using patrols to eliminate a piece. So all of these shall have blocks, so these are all active stations. The Japanese are not going to do any recalls. Deploy. before search as assets allow. They do have an asset that allows them to deploy. That's this one. Once per countermeasures phase, use one deploy action before searches. So, before we start actions for each Japanese turn, we're going to draw one of these cards. This is going to be considered our focus card. This box right here on this card is going to help us determine what they prioritize when they do their deploys and their searches. So now we're going to draw a card and see where they do this deploy using jungle tactics. Again, normally deploy happens after the Japanese have searched, right? Normally they have to recall, then search, then deploy. But that asset lets them deploy before they search. So let's draw a card and see where they deploy. And they deploy to New Guinea somewhere. So we look at New Guinea. Here's New Guinea, right here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations that are Japanese occupied where they could place a patrol, one of their ready patrols. But where are they going to do it? Well, this is where we now follow, the focus card that we drew. So ignore this. This only applies to searches. Bases. So they're going to deploy to a base first, and we do have 2 bases. Okay, so then is there a priority after that? If there's a record at either of theirs, there's not. Are there personnel at either of those 2 bases? There are. Yes, both of them do. Okay, so that doesn't really help us. And the last tiebreaker would be if any of those were report stations and the other wasn't. These are both report stations. So we're just going to have to draw another card and either a 1 or a 2. We're going to look for options 1 or 2. 1 or 2. Okay, it's a 1. So this one, you are the lucky winner of a Japanese patrol coming to visit you. That was their free, or not their free, but their deploy action allowed by asset. Now they're going to search up to 3 stations. 4 if there's only 1 patrol ready, or 5 if there's none that are ready. Well, there's plenty here, so they're only going to do 3 searches. Where are they going to search? Well, there's an automatic thing, and I should have brought this up when we were doing the deploy, but they always search or deploy if there are any revealed personnel. Now, that's why it was super important that I hid these guys with evasion actions, because if I left them face up, the bot player is automatically going to send patrols to those locations. There are no revealed blocks at this point, so we're going to have to draw a card. They are going to search in the Bismarcks, if possible. Well, it is possible because they do have 1 patrol. It's this police here in Kavieng. We don't have a Coast Watcher there, but they don't know that. They're going to draw 3 chits from the patrol cup to try to reveal that block. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. So they did reveal the block, but they did not remove it. If they had drawn 3 chits, that would have deactivated this station. This block would have been taken. It would have scored them no victory points, but it would have meant that for the rest of the game, I would not have been able to deploy Coast Watchers to the Bismarcks. And if I want to send a Coast Watcher there, I'm going to have to evade to hide that block again before I can do that. Okay, that was their first search. Now, what do we do with these chits? Well, if per the rules, whenever we do a search or a patrol cup draw, we immediately return all patrol chits and 1 evasion, and then keep all other drawn evasion chits out on this mat. So if we had drawn 2 evasion chits, we would have lost 1. Thankfully, we only revealed 1, so that one gets put back in the cup. And that's 1 less supply action hopefully we'll have to do, because eventually this will start to get drained. Chits will start to come back onto the pool, and we're going to have to do more resupply to get evasion chits back in the bag. All right, where are they going to search next? That was their first search action. Next, they're going to search in the Bismarcks, again, if they can, but they already searched there. I should mark it with a red pawn. Can't search the same location twice. So, not the Bismarcks. Let's draw again. Nope, not the Bismarcks. Central Solomons. Okay. There is a location in the Central Solomons that they can patrol at here in Segi. This is just an army, so only 2 chits are drawn. 1, 2. Okay. So because they drew 2 evasion chits, one of these goes back to the bag, but the others get removed from the bag. Not good. One more search. Guadalcanal. Okay, there is a patrol here in Guadalcanal, and this is potentially a bad one. I don't want them to capture this. So they're going to draw 2 chits. Let me just make sure I'm not missing something here. Nope, there's no asset that gives them any benefits to their searches. So, Army Patrol, they draw 2 chits. 1, 2. Well, they did not find my Coast Watcher refugee, but they did remove an evasion chit. That was the 3 searches for the Japanese. They have 1 more action, right, because they did the single deploy using the asset. They did 3 searches. Now they can do 1 more deploy with their remaining action. So they still have patrols here to deploy. So let's see where they deploy a patrol. Ooh, okay. This card has this icon on it, which means rather than deploying to the map, they're going to send this patrol to the patrol cup. And that is the end of the Japanese turn. Now it's another Allied activities phase. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, let's go ahead and get these guys out of here because they evaded detection. Let's get them out while the getting's good. So we don't need to use extractions for this because they are hidden. So we're just going to use boats to do a rescue attempt. So we're going to rescue in Laboro. Now, because of flying boats, we are going to lose 2 of our no sighting markers. So it's going to be 2 and 6. So we're going to put 2 sighting markers and 6 no sighting markers. All right, let's draw 2. 1, 2, and we were not spotted. So this marker gets replaced with just a Coast Watcher. He's staying behind. The refugee is rescued. He comes back here. That will score us victory points. In addition, because this was a Japanese occupied location, we will be able to gain 2 evasion chips to the patrol cup. Rationale being, as these boats came to pick up the refugees, they would not come empty. They would come with some supplies to deliver to the Coast Watchers at the same time. Good start. Now let's use our Catalinas. Let's go ahead and do another... Oh, do we try to get... Yeah, let's try to get some more supplies in the bag. Let's try to do more delivery. We're going to try to deliver some supplies to Chosul again. So we're going to put 2 and 7, because of flying boats, into the bag. There's 2 and 6. Let me get 1 more in there. That's 2 and 7. Let's draw 2 and see if we are seen. Uh-oh. Okay, we were seen. So he's revealed, but we were successful in delivering 4 supplies. All right, that was 2 actions. We have 3 more actions to go. Let's go ahead and use hideouts, that free search, that free observe, to do an observation at where? Where? Oh, I gotta remember those. Okay, let's go ahead and search at a base. Let's search here at Buka. So there is an army patrol there, so we're going to draw 2 chits. This is our free search because of our asset. 1, 2. All right, so we were not discovered. 1 goes back in the cup. 1 is removed. And we successfully observed at Buka. What is it? Oh, troops. Troops at Buka. Okay, let's put these troops out here. All right, So that was a free action. That was using hideout, so I'm going to rotate it to show I've used it. I'm going to put this card off to the side because I already used its ability to reveal these assets. All right, let's go ahead and... Oh, you know what? That was silly. I forgot. When I do a rescue with the Coopers, Guadalcanal and Central Solomons, which is here, that was an automatic success. I didn't have to draw for it. We weren't detected with the draw anyways, but either way, I didn't have to worry about detection. Okay. So let's see, 3 more actions. Let's go ahead and let's be a little risky here. Let's do another observation at Buin. Okay, we're going to observe at Buin. This is an army patrol. Let's draw 2 chits. 1, 2. Hey, we're not detected, but another chit comes out of the bag. There. All right, flip this over, and we have an aircraft buildup in Buin. Aircraft buildup in Buin. Here we go. Okay, 2 more actions. What are we gonna do? Let's. We don't have any more delivery assets. Let's go ahead and oh, these are not assets that I have. I was wondering where these came from. Put these off to the side. These are out of the game. Okay. Well, we definitely want to evade and hide this guy, so let's not risk leaving one exposed. Let's just ready another Coast Watcher. Well, I should say technically we're evading and then we're adding another Coast Watcher to the ready box. And that ends turn 2. Last step, Japanese operations. And again, this is turn 1, so they're never going to launch operations on the first turn. So we go to the countermeasures phase, and the Japanese are going to do 1 more countermeasures. All right, so first off, again, they're going to skip recall. There's no deactivated stations. They're going to deploy using their jungle tactics at a location. Let's see where they deploy. Actually, we need to discard and draw a new focus card. Oh, and since we're out of cards now, let's go ahead and take this deck, flip it over, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Here's our focus. Where do they deploy? New Britain. New Britain, which is right here. Now, here's the thing. There's no report stations for them to deploy to. So if we look at the focus here, personnel, well, there's no personnel here. Records, there's no records. Bases, there's no bases. And report stations, none of these are report stations. They don't have a box out here. There will never be a buildup there. So we're going to have to draw again because they're not going to place a patrol. Let's pick again. Bougainville. Bougainville. Okay, well, both of these already have patrols, so again, that's not going to work. Let's keep trying. New Britain. Again, we just evaluated that. Nothing goes there. Keep trying. Bismarck's. But this one has a deploy action or icon, so the deploy goes to the cup. Now they do 3 searches. Where are they going to search? Well, first they would search at a location where there is a revealed patrol, but there are none, or a coast watcher, but there are none. So let's draw for an area. New Guinea. All right, well, there's only one location they can search in New Guinea. That's this newly placed patrol from last time. So let's draw 2 chits and see if they find my coast watcher. 1, 2. They didn't. 1 gets pulled out, 1 gets put back in. That was the first search. Second search, they're going to search in New Guinea, but again, we already exhausted the patrols there. Let's keep drawing. Central Solomons. Okay, so they have 1 patrol here. Yes, that one's in Bougainville. So let's draw to see where, sorry, there's only 1 location here that they can patrol in Central Solomons. So let's draw 2. Let's see what they find. 1, 2. Again, they did not find me. Put this back in the cup. And we draw 1 last one. Nope, already did New Guinea. Guadalcanal. Okay, so here in Guadalcanal, they'll draw 2 to search there. 1, 2, and they did not find me there either. That was their 3 searches. Now they end with a deploy. So let's draw 1 more card, and it has the deploy icon on it, so this one goes to the cup. And that concludes the first turn. Okay, well, this was a good sample, I hope, of the initial first turn and setup of solitaire play in Coast Watchers by Volko, Runke, and GMT Games.